All right. I think we are live. We had a little bit of technical difficulties, and I think we're going to have a bit of a truncated show today, but we are here for the Awesemo Odds betting show. I'm your host, as always, Jordan Frank. I am joined by Ben Raza. Ben, how you doing today?
I'm all right. Yeah, we're it's good. We're cutting out all the fluff today. We're getting right into it, but I'm good. Happy Friday, everyone, as always.
And returning, everybody was dying for Nolan to come on back, so here he is. Nolan Kelly, how you doing this morning?
Hey, you can't find guests that are going to pick 40% of the games right anywhere,
You're
right?
kidding me?
So
I'm on the show, which 40%, I need to win about 10 in a row. But yeah, man, thanks for making time and coming back. We know NHL has started. You're a busy man right now.
it is NHL time for sure. But yeah, we are about to hit peak sports season real quick here.
Yeah, that's for sure. We got everything going, especially baseball playoffs. Hockey started, like you said. NBA is right around the corner. But we don't have time to chat at all because we got to get our picks in here and get out because the Yahoo show is coming up right after us. I was going to talk about a few other things, but I feel like we should just jump into our week 6 picks.
We'll
Ben,
take it to
do you
Slack
want to
chat
go?
for
Yeah,
sure.
we can take it to Slack chat. I do want to talk a little bit about the MVP. We talked about it last week, but why don't we put that in Slack? I'm kind of curious your thoughts, Ben, if anything changed in your mind. I do want to talk about last night's game, but don't have time. We'll talk about that in Slack. All right, week 6. Ben, you want me to go first or you want to
No,
hit it
I'll
up?
take it away. I got nothing to lose. I'm ready to spray and pray, feeling good on college football, which again, Slack chat for that this week. That was a really good Saturday for me. But NFL, here we go. Home dog, barely a dog. Cleveland Browns +1.5 at home in desperation mode once again. They answered the bell against the Ravens a couple weeks ago, kind of, I think cooled everything down. Then we saw them against the Niners, and now the pressure is on. So Seattle's coming in. Seattle did have the impressive win against the Rams. That was in Seattle, though. And this is just a spot where I think we all recognize that Cleveland has the talent. It's just about utilizing it. They got to protect Baker. He can't turn the ball over. Even though I've shorted the Browns for the season in multiple ways, I do think this is a game that they can win and they should win, despite being up against the wall once again.
We can make this really quick because that is also going to be one of my 3 picks. So I
Look at
might as well
that.
just piggyback on
What
you there, which
I wasn't paying
is
attention. What was your what was your pick, Ben?
We're both on the Browns +1.5 at home.
Whoa!
Yeah, Seahawks, get them out of here.
yeah, that game
Wow!
opened. The look ahead line, Cleveland was a favorite. Obviously, this is a massive overreaction to, well,
Uh,
debatable, right? And that's what we're going to talk about, whether it's a reaction or an overreaction to what we've seen from Cleveland, especially last week and the week before. But that game has totally flipped sides. Like you said, Ben, Cleveland is getting a 1.5 at home. It was such a great spot for the Niners last week, which is something that I'm trying to harp on, I think, maybe more than I should. But the Niners were coming off a bye. Cleveland was on the road for the second week in a row on the West Coast. Uh, I just really like Cleveland in this spot. I think Seattle is a little bit smoke and mirrors too. And obviously, I want to get Nolan's thoughts on that, see if that's one of your games. I had a few more points to throw in, but I know we got to accelerate. So, Nolan, thoughts on this game? Is this going to be one of your 3? Do you want to fade us, join us? What do you think?
Oh man, no, I don't have this one, but I was thinking about maybe taking the Seattle side of it. I mean, the like narratives are going to be that Seahawks traveling across the states, and then as well just them not playing very well away from home. I think those are the traditional things you say about the Seahawks. So we always see these lines sort of depressed, even though we consider the Seahawks a better team at home. So I kind of like the other side of this one because I do think the Seahawks are better, but I get where both of your guys are heads are at because it's probably just an overreaction to what we've seen so far. The Browns aren't bad. The Browns can run the ball. I'm sure that they can get this sorted out. Maybe Freddie Kitchens will hand over play calling duties to Todd Monken before the week's out. Who knows? But this is going to be. I'm just going to pass on this one here because I kind of see both sides of this.
Yeah, to me, just kind of digging into Seattle's schedule a little more. I mean, you really see they had some pretty unimpressive wins, in my opinion. You have week 1 where Cincinnati came in and Seattle was lucky to get that win. And we've seen what the Bengals are. They're a team that's been struggling mightily. I mean, we can talk about their game last week against Arizona. They then barely beat the Steelers, who lost Big Ben in that game. They lose to the Saints at home. I'm sure that game is going to come up. We're going to talk about the Saints, I'm assuming. They beat Arizona, and then the Rams game last week, which we can talk about, but that obviously could have gone either way and was a really impressive Russell performance. But to me, I'm just kind of shorting it. Seattle, just that the market has overreacted too much to last week for both teams.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just say right now, Chad, I'm trying to figure out that apparently we're maybe the audio's a little low. I'm not sure if it's one of us, if it's all of us. So I will speak up a bit. But is that Jordan? Sorry, I was kind of spazzing out there. Is that who you're going with for your second pick? Did you make a second selection?
I've only taken Browns. That's my only pick so far. So I'm piggybacking with you on the Browns. Nolan, you want to give us your first? And if you have two ready, I know we're kind of scrambling. Otherwise, I'll give my second here.
All right. So I'm just going. I had this on here. I can hear it all. You sound good. You sound good. Joshing once. Yeah. Josh says he can hear you fine, so we're all good. Just wanted to
Beautiful.
make sure there's some little scatterbrains. My first time producing this show, so yeah. So we have. I'm just going to go. I'm admittedly, it's been a busy week and I haven't had a lot of time to research this. So I am going to go with where the reverse line movement is. That's generally, I think, a pretty good default option when you are making your picks, because, reverse line movement just suggests that the sharp bettors and the sharp money is on one team and the public is on another. Quite often you'll have public supported teams like the Green Bay Packers, the Dallas Cowboys, and affect the line, and that means you're getting a sharper line on the other side. So I don't necessarily agree with this one. I also see the merits of both sides of this, but I'm going to take the Jacksonville Jaguars -1 at home to the New Orleans Saints. Teddy Bridgewater 3-0 against the spread so far, but I kind of believe in this Jacksonville team. They put up a fight against the Panthers, and the Panthers D is nothing to sneeze at. I like Gardner Minshew. I like DJ Chark. I think they can run the ball. Fournette. If they got Ramsey buying in, this defense is elite. Saints away from home are not as good a team. So we have 68% of the bets coming in on the Saints, but only 36% of the money right now. So I'll take the Jaguars -1 point.
Okay. Gardner Minshew, swag god. What can you say?
I like him. I think he's pretty good. I don't think Foles gets his job back.
I'm a big fan too, and I guess I should just say that was my second pick as well. So it looks like we're a little bit too much in sync this week. So that never bodes well. Although Nolan and I have been doing pretty well so far.
Yeah, I'm on an island by myself. Obviously,
we'll have to next week. We'll have to update all the standings.
For sure. So I'll give my 2 cents, but I actually really like the Jags in this spot. Like, to me, I was on Carolina last week. That was probably my favorite play of the week. And Jacksonville played a lot better than I thought. It was a big trap game for them, and they could have rolled over a few times in that game, and they didn't. And that is a really good indicator in my mind of just how good Minshew is. And, it was a spot against Carolina where, McCaffrey had just an insane game, and Carolina's defense is so underrated in my opinion. We talked about it last week, some of the stats with Carolina. But you look at Jacksonville. Well, really, I look at Teddy Bridgewater. Everybody's talking about last week how great he was against Tampa Bay. He's had 2 games in a row at home where they've covered. And this is such a different scenario going on the road to Jacksonville, who also has a great D. Ramsey's going to play, which I think will limit Thomas a little bit. And then you're really going to get a more streamlined approach from the Saints, which I think the Jags can counteract pretty well with their defense. Again, it's just a number that I like. Nolan, you talked about the reverse line movement. I'm a big fan of that. That's a good indicator of sharp money coming in. The line has not moved at all. Basically, right? It opened at 1, and I'm still seeing some 1s, even though the bets are coming in on the Saints, and conversely, all the money is coming in on the Jags. So good spot here for Jacksonville. Fournette's going to have a huge game. We just got to slow down Kamara, who popped up on the injury report. Doesn't sound like it's anything significant, but if he's dinged up, I like the spot even better for the Jags.
Okay. That is not one of my games. I think there's merit to it. The Saints, we've talked about that. Bridgewater is he a very good game manager? He looked great against Tampa, but that was in the dome. So different type of test, and we'll see what Jacksonville can do. I guess I'll go. Since Jordan, that was your second pick as well. I'm
Yep.
sticking with home teams. This is a weird game, and I don't even feel great about it, to be honest, but I'm going to stick with the Vikings. 3-point favorite at home. They have a tough test in the Eagles, but this is a spot that I do like. With Cousins kind of forced to open it up last week against the Giants, he did, and he looked pretty good. But I think people maybe are underrating that the Vikings at home, especially on defense, really tough place to play. The Eagles, they went into Lambeau, very impressive, and they are getting a little healthier, but I just worry about how they are going to perform here. If I don't think they'll be able to run the ball. Wentz is good, his weapons are getting back, but at the same time, I think the Vikings defense does set up well. And even if Dalvin Cook is rendered somewhat ineffective because the Eagles do have a good rushing attack, I trust Cousins maybe a little more than most. So at home in a spot like this, I think a more balanced Vikings attack gets a pretty big win for them. Willing to lay the field goal in this one and kind of see what they're made of.
Yeah,
That can't
that's
be your third pick, is it?
It's not my third pick. That is one though that I definitely lean towards the Vikings on that side. Uh, I think you nailed the key component here is Cousins and how he's going to do against the Philly secondary, because their secondary is really weak.
It is.
Right? They're going to stop Dalvin Cook because their Eagles front seven is one of the best in the league. So I trust Cousins a lot more, like you said, at home. So I think it's a pretty good spot for the Vikings.
Yeah.
Nolan, you'd look at that game?
Yeah. I mean, I think so too. You get them at home, and that Philadelphia secondary is pretty weak and exploitable. It's really just a question. I think it's going to come down to game plan. I feel like if they're stubborn and they want to try and run the ball at that Philadelphia front, they're probably not going to have much success. But I think we saw last game with the Kirk Cousins regression. He can still this offense can still pass the ball when it needs to. So I kind of like Minnesota here. I feel like. It's -3 is not a bad number to get. I would probably shy away if that was -3.5. So I think you're all right with it.
Yeah, and Zimmer, Chat just pointed out he's been good at home first non-division teams. I'm not sure how pertinent it is, but I do think that honestly having Cousins maybe forced to open it up a little bit last week is going to pay dividends in a week like this. If this was the first week after the turmoil, I'd be maybe a little more skeptical, but I think we see the Vikings kind of take a step here, move forward. And, the Eagles, there's no shame going into Minnesota and leaving with a loss. So I'm going to back them in this spot.
Yeah, Zimmer doesn't seem like the most flexible guy, but I think you're right. I mean, I think he has to realize that running the ball 35 times against the Eagles is probably not the recipe for success in this game.
It's really not. Like, come on, boys. Yeah, so that's where I'm at. Who do we got up? No, have you only made one pick?
I can go. I got an anti-data take here for you.
Oh, that sounds hot.
I already told you guys about this one. So road favorites off a bye are really good. They have about a 66% ATS over the last 15 years. Coming off a bye when they're favored. So, but then of course teams coming off a bye are about 54% against the spread normally. So you have these two conflicting narratives, but the road favored off a bye is probably your best bet, which means you should be betting the Washington football team against the Miami Dolphins. However, I'm taking the Dolphins in the points, plus 3.5. I just think here's my rationale for this one. I don't really have much support. I know that Miami is a worse team, but I still think they have the weapons on offense to score. I think Kenyon Drake, Preston Williams, Devontae Parker. So I do think that they can put some points on them. They're coming off a bye. Washington's in disarray. We have a new coach. We have just like complete chaos from top to bottom in that organization. And I think Miami's had 2 weeks to prepare for them. So I'm going to take those points there. I actually bet the Dolphins on the money line earlier this week, which was a pretty bold move, and I probably put too much money on them. But I don't know. What do you guys think of that? Am I completely out to lunch here? I mean, this is really I'm just really talking about narratives here. I don't think there's too much between these two teams. So give me the points and the team off the bye.
I mean, I already bet Miami in weeks against non-Redskins teams, so clearly
Me
I'm
So you
too.
were getting 20 points.
like
Yeah, true.
Miami hasn't scored in the second half. I just want to put that out there. That's
Problematic.
it's unbelievable, but this is a situation for me. It's pretty simple to sum up. The only thing I'll disagree with you, Nolan, I don't think it's clear that Miami's the worst team. I really don't. The Redskins are god awful, and they have a new coach and they have no quarterback. I would take 3.5 points on either side of this game. Like this
Yeah.
is one of those.
Yeah.
Just give me a good number. That is a pertinent number, and as you mentioned, they are at home. Uh, but for me, it's really two teams that are just garbage. And in Miami's defense, Ravens, Patriots, Chargers, Cowboys. I'm not saying they should be blown out in the status that they've been, but at the same time, if they played Cincinnati, the Jets, and some of these other teams, they might be 1-4, 2-3, or something like that, and we wouldn't be assuming they're this bad. So I do think there's room for a home dog here to get the job done with a team like Miami.
Yeah, I think just getting that extra hook makes the difference to
Huge.
me. And I think you could argue that this game should be closer to a pick 'em, to be honest, than even Miami, getting 3 points at home, because I just don't think the Redskins are that good, like we're talking about. And the schedule for Miami has been brutal. Now, obviously, we know they're just devoid of talent. They have some playmakers on offense. It really comes down to Rosen, whether he can kind of keep it together. He looked good. We talked about it last week in the first half against Dallas. He looked really good. He was under control. And then they had that late turnover, and it just snowballed from there. And that tends to happen with obviously a poor team. But you look across the field, and it's Washington, and it's a new coach. They're talking about they want to get Peterson the ball 30 times. I mean, who knows what he has in the tank at this point. It's fascinating. Like, so many people are focusing on this game where otherwise nobody would care, right? Like, this is truly the tank game of the year, maybe of the decade. I don't know.
So I also think this is a great spot to fade in your survivor pools. I think you're going to get a lot of people just targeting the Dolphins week in and week out and trying to save the good teams and seeing like, hey, I can just use Washington this week. So I prefer fading them this week. I don't know how about you guys. You guys feel about that?
That's why we pay you the big bucks, because I don't believe you have chat up. Chat just asked that.
Oh, that's funny.
Look at that. That's why the guy's producing. He's in focus up there. I agree 100%. You're not going to get the Redskins are a sneaky, aggressive team, but at the same time, there are going to be people who blindly fade the Dolphins every week they're on the slate. So you're going to have to deal with all those people. There's just other spots for Survivor, even if you want to go against the grain. So for me, I'm with you. I'm not going to mess around with the Redskins.
Yeah, me neither. That's not a game I want to touch for Survivor.
No.
There's no way.
Nope. All right. So we all have one pick left. Is that where we're at?
I think so. Yeah.
Yes, I believe so.
You want to go for it, Ben?
Sure. So my last pick, oh boy, I'm going against the unbeaten Niners. I'm going with the Rams at home. Statement game. This is it. I don't want to be doomsday, but this feels like almost a must-win for the Rams. If the Niners can beat them at home, continue to be unbeaten, it's going to be hard for them to get back in the NFC West. So this is a spot. I know that the Niners looked fantastic. They're running the ball down everyone's throat. They're getting pass rush. I think that the Rams kind of make a statement here and show that they're not dead and buried just yet. Lost a tough game in Seattle on Thursday. They've had the extra time, a little banged up and whatnot. We'll have to keep an eye on that. They have plenty of weapons. I think that Sean McVay is going to find ways to neutralize on both sides. A, the pass rush for the Niners, and B, they're going to stifle this running game a bit. So I have a feeling that the Niners come back to reality just a little bit this week with the Rams. It's a 3-point spread. The Rams are favored and home. I'm willing to lay the points.
Can you guys see my notes? Is that what's happening here?
See, I'm in tune.
It's unbelievable. I wish I would have given my picks in different order. I would look smarter, but
you don't want to be following me. That's a terrible move. But
well, this is the second time that the Rams are my third pick. I do have some other ones. Maybe I should pivot, but
stick with me.
I'm all about fading this overreaction, and I think that's exactly what you have here. This line has come down 2.5, maybe 3 points in some spots. So I'm saying -3, the Rams as a home favorite. Ben, you mentioned the extra time since they played last Thursday. I have a stat that McVay is 10-1 as the Rams coach, and he's 8-1-1 against the spread when they have extra rest. So that means coming off a bye or having the extra couple days because of a Thursday game. His only loss is, of course, the Super Bowl. So we're not dealing with the Patriots here. We're dealing with the Niners, who I think have been a little bit overrated. They also have some significant injuries. I don't know if Joe Staley is going to play. I don't think Kyle Juszczyk is going to play. Actually, I know he's not playing. Staley, I'm not sure yet. I think they're going to have a hard time just running the ball down the Rams' throat because that's really what their recipe has been. It's not like they've opened up the pass game that much. I mean, obviously, you have Kittle, who's such a weapon, but they haven't really gotten the ball out to their outside receivers at all. And that seems like where the Rams are a bit vulnerable, like we saw with Seattle last week, against Carolina before that, against Tampa when they lost to the Bucks. So I'm with you. I really like this game at 3.
Ooh.
Well, I think we're all on this game here because I'm on the same
Oh
page.
boy,
I'm stunned, to be honest.
Here's my reasoning as well. I don't know, I'm not sure if either one of you missed it, but or mentioned it, but Mike McGlinchey as well is out for the 49ers. Akila Witherspoon is questionable. So that means like both your starting tackles are out, possibly one of your starting corners. I don't think you're going to be able to run the ball at will on this team without your 2 starting left tackles, which means they're probably going to have to pass it a lot more. So I think like the worst case scenario for this bet, maybe I'm crazy, but I think the worst case scenario is the Rams is like a push and the Rams win by 3. Like, I mean, sure the 49ers could win, but I don't know. I like this spot. I think it's kind of the same mentality as the Browns overreaction that you guys were talking about earlier, where the public is just overreacting, and this line's been actually pushed down from plus the Rams were -5.5 open, and now it's -3. So too bad if you got that line earlier on in the week, or I mean, if you had the 49ers +5.5 earlier, then you're looking good right now. But yeah, so I like the Rams. Give me -3, and let's hope they can win it by more than that.
The other thing, we see this in DFS a lot. I think in betting, it's pertinent as well. When you're on the island game, like Monday night, everybody watched the Niners specifically because it's the only game, and that changes the narrative. If they would have done that at 1:00 on Sunday, I'm not saying people wouldn't have noticed, but it would have been mixed in with a bunch of other games. So I just think, you got the short week for them, the long week for the Rams. It is a bad spot for the Niners in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's a double kind of primetime overreaction game because you had the Niners on Monday night, you had the Rams on the Thursday night game against Seattle, so everybody saw them lose, in that game. So that's, I think, where you get this overreaction going both ways. I mean, that just seems like a perfect spot. That's one that I like to target, these overreaction spots.
Absolutely. And there's, just looking real quick, I know we've given our picks. Some other games out there, but I didn't really feel like touching them. The Jets have Darnold back. Chargers Steelers was tough. I looked at the Chiefs a little bit, but overall, I wanted to pick my spots pretty carefully in NFL. Now that buys are coming into play, less games on the slate, tougher to gauge.
Yeah, there were 3 or 4 other games that I was looking at very closely, and I think I'm probably going to bet either as it gets closer or potentially live. I want to get your guys' quick thoughts. We got a few more minutes here on either the Jets or the Bengals, kind of the big dogs this week. Any thoughts on either one of those teams as a potential play or a money line play? Since we've seen some crazy underdogs get there this year.
Who was it? The Jets?
The Jets or the Bengals. They're both. So the Jets, the line is moving in their favor. They opened at +9. They're now only +7. That's obviously a Darnold reaction against the Cowboys playing at home. And then you have Cincinnati traveling to Baltimore. That line moved from 8.5 to 11, which seems like too many points for me. I'm looking at Cincinnati.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to touch this Jets one. I don't know how. It's just like too many variables for me. I think like, Dallas coming off a pretty tough loss when they got embarrassed at home. So I feel like they're going to be pretty motivated. At the same time, it's a tough matchup. Like I think it's tougher than people assume going to New York to play if Darnold's starting. So I don't know. I probably lean towards the Jets +7 right now, but I'm just going to stay away from this one.
I mean, I think the Jets, if you told me one of the teams is going to win, I would say it's the Jets. I don't think Cincy can get the job done in Baltimore, but they're getting 10.5, which is a really good number. Ravens emotional overtime win against the Steelers. It's not a great spot for them either, to be honest. So I don't mind the dogs in either spot. I do think that the Jets are more live to actually win the game just because I think the talent difference and they are at home. So that's probably what I do. I saw chat mention people talking about Ravens in a teaser type of thing. I have no problem with that. I think they win the game, but maybe not by double digits.
Yeah.
Survivor.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Why don't we pivot real quick to Survivor?
I'm safe. I had the Patriots.
Oh, man. I don't even know if you're allowed to do that, man. This is a Friday show. I think that pick's void.
Easy. I saved them for a low key week, and now I can relax.
Oh, man.
There is written proof, I guess, that we can allow that pick. I probably should have just jumped on that too. I didn't even realize how bad this week is. Nolan, who are you looking at?
I saw it like right after kickoff, and I'm like, I wonder if these guys will let me take it, even though it's kicked off. And I decided not to press you on it.
There's no way, no mercy here.
Exactly right. So actually, I was just trying to look up our Survivor picks, and we got to get a little spreadsheet together because I feel like I haven't kept track here. But I don't know. Do you guys know if I've got the Ravens still handy here?
I don't know for sure. I know I use them because I was trying to go back, and we do need to get a little more organized here. I've used Baltimore, so I'm kind of in a tough spot here. But if you have Baltimore, I'll let you take them, obviously.
So if I don't, I'll take Baltimore. If I don't, I don't think I've taken them yet. But there was 1 week earlier on in the season where they were like,
against the Cardinals, they were super popular.
Actually, I think you guys both took them, and I took like the super chalk or something, and took the Pats or something stupid.
I believe you did against the Dolphins. I want to say.
I think that's right.
Okay, so I'll take the Ravens here.
Okay. What about you, Jordan? You're in a dicey spot because I think the big favorites.
I don't like the big favorites this week.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll just take one of the dogs.
Yeah, that's the strategy.
The crazy pick would probably be Denver. We haven't talked about that game at all, but I don't know if I can quite make that pick.
How many X's do you have now? 2?
I have 2. Somehow I have the Chiefs losing at home when they're 11-point favorites. We haven't talked about that game at all, or this week, and then the Rams when they lost to Tampa. So I somehow have 2 strikes.
So where are you? Did you pick some?
I haven't. Okay. I guess I don't want to take the Chargers, but
take them.
With Pouncey out, I really don't like the Chargers at all. I'll take the Chargers. Yeah, I'm going to have my 3rd strike. I have a feeling.
No, I think you're fine. I don't know. Who's Pittsburgh starting at quarterback there? Devin Hodges?
Yeah, Ben, give us a scouting report.
So you're fine.
LA
coming off.
Not a hub for football, I don't think.
That's where I would go. Ben, you got any quick 2-minute college football picks for us?
So, I will say I have an article posted on the website, and right after this show, I'm going to be whipping up the Saturday slate for DFS and betting. And unlike NFL, I've been on a low-key heater in college, so I really hope to keep that going. I have one tonight, though. And for Saturday's picks, check out that article. Find me in Slack. But tonight, I'm laying the points with the Ducks at home. Oregon I got it at 20.5. It's moved to 21 at most places. They are at home against Colorado. But I talked about this last week with a different game. Colorado's entire secondary is hurt, and now they lost another guy. Oregon at home in Autzen, tough place to play. They were really sluggish against Cal last week. This feels to me just the ultimate get-right spot. I could see, a 55-17 type game where Oregon really just controls it, and I just don't know how Colorado is going to stop them. So lay in the 3 touchdowns at home with the Ducks.
Beauty.
Nice. Good luck. I might tell you on that one too. A bunch of marquee games on Saturday. We don't have time to get into it, but we can talk on Slack. We'll look forward to your article, Ben, breaking down Saturday, like you said. I think we have to get out of here. Thanks, guys, for doing the quick, very truncated version of the show. We got our picks out, and good luck to everybody. Have a great weekend.